everyone, and thank you for listening to BrainFruits, the podcast on women changemakers. I'm your host, Hannah Becker, and today I have the great pleasure to introduce you to Katarzyna Wac. Katarzyna Wac is the leader of the Quality of Life Technology Research Area and a professor of computer science at the University of Geneva. She's affiliated with the Geneva School of Economics, Center for Informatics at University of Geneva, and before, she also was here in Denmark with the Department of Computer Science at the University of Copenhagen. Welcome, Katarzyna. It's such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Katarzyna, computer science and quality of life. Can you tell us how machines can make our lives better?
We are using machines today to have a better decision-making daily life. Imagine your smartphone. Imagine your life without smartphone. We have been really deprived of different decisions and actually information which led to different decisions in a given moment. So in a sense, I'm trying in our lab research the ways of the everyday technologies for improving our capacity for better decision making specifically in context of health, and really improving our quality of long term. So
it sounds really interesting. Machines that make our life, especially our health outcomes, a little bit better. You're currently drafting a book, as I just saw, Quantifying Quality of Life, Incorporating Daily Life into Medicine. What are you up to with this book?
First of all, we need to realize that generally our quality of life, our health and quality of life, up to 40% depends on our daily life repetitive behaviors. Lack of sleep, lack of physical activity, malnutrition, that really takes toll later in our life. And unfortunately, we are on the path. So statistically spoken, we're very prone to have this bad health outcomes and bad quality of life outcomes in the long term. And what's happening right now in medicine, where you go to the doctor, you're being asked about these different behaviors. And so far, the gold standard is self-report. Self-report, meaning you're going to be asked to fill up some questionnaires. You're going to be asked some questions. You're going to be asked to fill up some questionnaires, which will then talk about your physical activity, sleep, nutrition. And there are a lot of biases in self-reporting, including memory bias, including self-reporting issue aspect of social acceptability, right? You want to show off better than you are. So with technologies, just to make a long story short, we're trying to provide much more action-based objective data sets, much more frequent and much more in context, because also these questionnaires are lacking the overall context of who you are and what drives you.
Yeah, it's true. Usually when you go to a doctor and you get a diagnosis, you fill out a lot of surveys and you do it to your best knowledge, but often we're not so much aware of the impact that really determines on our determined health outcomes. So I think that's a really good aspect to bring in here. Before we dive a little bit deeper into how technology can be used to improve quality of life, what is your understanding of quality of life? What can I imagine it to be?
When I started as a computer science, when I started the lab on quality of life technologies, I added technologies to it as an indicator that I am not a typical sociologist or psychologist looking into this domain from a more human aspect. I'm looking from the domain of computational models. I did not know what I'm getting into. So along the years, I got to know the fact that there are 172 different self-reports, the questionnaires. They're called instruments. And then they ask about different aspects of our daily life. And in our lab, we have adopted one of them, which I'm going to tell you what's the understanding of quality of life. It's a very subjective individual perception of individuals' life in different aspects of physical health, psychological health, social interactions, and environmental aspects. So there are like these 4 big domains, which are very important for quality of life. And then there are 24 so-called facet subdomains. So we are following the World Health Organization model of quality of life. And actually, just to link it to the book, which is mentioned earlier, there are 24 chapters, which are written by experts. And each of the chapter is corresponding to one variable contributing to quality of life. And in many cases, I can see how qualitative and subjective this area is. And what I'm really trying, one by one, variable by variable, is to provide quantitative, action-based data sets rather than just self-belief driven indicators.
I can imagine that when you try to quantify the qualitative, you probably are met with quite some skepticism in your area, because as you say, quality of life is such a subjective measurement. Maybe to just draw a differentiation line here, in finance, for example, we talk a lot about quality of life, but a lot of people maybe know the term standard of living a little bit better. And of course, that's something I could relate to much easier, because standard of living is tangible, right? It is a quantifiable term that refers to factors available to socioeconomic classes or geographic areas. So it can be your material wealth, for example. Whereas quality of life is really the subjective term that you just touched upon that can measure happiness. So that is already where it comes in to be very, very difficult. How do you measure happiness?
So happiness, specifically positive and amount of positive and negative feelings in the daily life, is one of the contributors to psychological health and to one of the contributors to our quality of life. And if we look from the helicopter view on the quality of life and this other aspects of well-being, happiness, there are actually different points of view. There is a psychological point of view, there is a sociological point of view, there is, you mentioned, the financial, more economic point of view. There is also political point of view. I'm contributing much more to this medical point of view, where World Health Organization defines this quality of life in terms of contributing to the health. So when I get back to your question, how do you measure happiness? Then again, I want to say, I don't remember exactly, but there was as there are 172 questionnaires for quality of life, there will be I don't know, maybe 50 questionnaires for happiness and well-being in daily life, which will then relate to the specific aspects of being happy in the daily life. And what I like about some research in psychology, for example, Barbara Fredrickson from US, she's pointing out that actually maybe at the end we should be quantifying moments of happiness, moments of positivity. Actually, that's how she named it in her research, because actually at the end we also see that it's a matter of balance. It's not that we should be always happy. And what we are doing, we're trying to look into the aspects of positive balance. So there's arousal and balance. Arousal is when we are like aroused, and then it could be positive or negative. So looking for this moment of positivity, it will be like positive, it would be arousal, and it would be positive balance. And then we're looking for psychophysiological signals. So the research on this, like our galvanic skin response changes, so our humidity of the skin changes, our heart rate changes, our blood pressure changes, because we're in this state of happiness, I would say. But again, anybody can name it differently. It's just really that then the body talks. So what I like to also say that a long time in one of the papers, we just pointed out, like, what is always speaking silently is the body, right?
What other symptoms would you see in the body when the body starts talking, when the body is, as you say, like in this aroused state?
Another fun aspect is posture. It's a sign. It's a sign, like in the opening versus closed, and yes. So what always speaks silently is the body and the muscle tension. Yes.
Is it also like a two-way street, in the sense that if you have a certain posture, that you're probably signaling certain things to your brain, so you maybe also becoming a little bit more happy? Is there some little hacks we can take out here from from this conversation?
There's a lady again working on the power poses by scanning the brain, that there's increase of a particular hormone, which is increasing the assertiveness of the person. So actually there was a fun TED talk of her, was before a job talk or before a very important event, go to the bathroom and just do the power pose.
To draw it a little bit more to the actual work that you are doing, what is the role of the so-called mobile quality life living lab? in improving sleep, bolstering against stress, and sparking joy.
And I have set up so-called Living Lab as a vehicle for engaging these participants, which then help me to become a much more accredited lab, in which we just not only just sit and code and do our algorithms, but have a living lab where the participants are engaged, and then they're having the also ethical framework for engaging them in the studies. So that's what we have. We have these individuals who are volunteering for participating in our study, and some of them are staying with us for many years, and they keep coming for different research projects, and some of them are just there for one, and we are always looking for more participants. Yes.
When we look at the aim of this research innovative, the Mobile Quality of Life Living Lab, you say that it is about really using the benefit of data and trying to find a way on how to unleash the power of data to benefit the quality of life of individuals. How can I imagine that to look like in practice? Can you maybe name one or two example studies and the outcome of those?
So as a computer scientist, we do work on different data sources, primarily data sources for us, much more objective than the self-report, are the data sources coming from how you use your phone. So we do have a particular instrumentation of the phone. It's a software which you just basically run with your consent on your phone, which is capturing what happens with the phone when it's going to get switched on and off, what applications we're using, and what specific interactions you have with your phone. And then we abstract from it for deriving these different variables contributing to your daily life. So we model our daily life. And the second data source is a wearable, from which we get this psychophysiological data, as well as physical activity and sleep. And then this is the data which we unleashed towards understanding deeper patterns of behavior, which again can further on be linked to maybe disease, but we're not doing any diagnostics. So just to concretely tell you about two different projects. In one of them, we have realized that the way individuals, any of us, touch our phone really relates to the sleep duration. So we touch their phone as the last thing in the evening and first thing in the morning. So unleashing the power of the data, which is just there, and the sensor is just a software sensor based on which we collect the data, how you on and off your phone, assuming that nobody else is touching the phone. Then it's a very crude sleep duration sensor. And if you cannot sleep and you pick up your phone in the middle of the night, we also know it, right? Assuming again it's you and nobody else is picking up your phone. So then the first step to any improvement is always understanding and awareness. So having enough of this particular data set of about your sleep duration, we may be able already to say if you're meeting the requirements for sleep duration by the World Health Organization and other health organizations. So that's one. And the second one, it seems to be like it's very trivial, but actually it was also a computational task to model this and clean up the data and everything. Never mind, the fact is the second one is much more exciting. And I think maybe you've seen it and can imagine that the way you touch your phone corresponds to our stress levels. So again, because we do have this logger on the phone as our part of our intellectual property right, part of our research infrastructure at our lab, then we instrument and we instrument the phone, and we know how the phone is touched, and based on this, it could be really a great awareness tool, right? In the sense that you don't have to self-report, you don't have to do anything, you just need to live your life. And then at some point, there will be some statistical value coming in and saying that it looks like you're stressed around 1 hour per day, looking into how you interact with your phone. And then maybe there is a specific context information. We can tell you that it's always either at this time or this location. We are not able to say with whom you are, but maybe there are some aspects of workplace settings or home settings in which somewhere in the future will be able to even say more about what are the specific contexts in which we're stressed.
When we hear behavioral change and using technology, I saw that you're also on the ethics committee, and you talk a lot about now quality of life, and probably also the usage of technology. What are some of the ethical concerns using mobile devices to measure quality of life and to even get closer to the individual than we already are?
We are writing our protocols with very detailed understanding and explanation of how our software works, what data we're collecting, where is the data stored, how it's secured, how it's shared, if at all, and when it's going to be destroyed, after how much time, after how many years, or after what are the conditions under which the data is never going to be recuperated. And also it's very important to know for everybody that we're storing the data in anonymous form.
I think this is a good time to talk about the design that you use in your research studies. You've talked a lot about what you look for the users or for the participants of the studies, because your studies have so much impact both in the academic world, but then also already if we look a bit more in the practical terms on changing the way we measure in medicine, right? And maybe in general medicine, how we determine a person's health, a person's quality of life. I would be super interested to hear what approach you use to design research studies with impact.
Thank you very much. I have to say that there is always a set of experts with whom we are developing the different studies. If it's just more computer science oriented study, then it's just us, and it's usually a short, a few weeks study with healthy participants, just something about how we use the phone or piloting our algorithm. But the moment when we really get into trying to understand somebody's stress or sleep, or we have a case of loneliness, we have a case of fatigue, pain, impatience, and then as you can imagine, we have a whole team of experts with whom we collaborate. Usually it's either national or international project, and then we definitely first I would like to assure that we first work out on our feasibility. Nevertheless, we are working on this for so many years. There's always something which doesn't work at the beginning, and also there's something from software perspective which needs to be updated. So we first take our time to collect quality data and build really quality models. And this is more like an observational phase in which we just look into how do we model this or that, and do we have understanding with the experts, right? Do we really match their quality standard? Generally, we always talk to the users. Like, that's why we have Living Lab. We're inviting people. We give them it's not just questionnaires or survey. It's just like open discussion about the phenomena we're trying to quantify.
Maybe to get a bit more personal in the end here, exactly with these type of challenges. What are some of the challenges you encounter working as a female researcher in such a traditionally male-dominated field as computer science?
Well, originally I'm Polish, and I have started with electrical engineering electronics 20 years ago as a bachelor student. And I have to say, the context of our studies, there were two girls and 300 boys. Unfortunately, it was so sexist. It was so sexist, but I did not know that it was so sexist until I left the place. And I went for exchange program to the Netherlands. After 2 weeks being there, and my English level is not that good, but somehow I managed. After 2 weeks being there, I said, this is amazing. I'm like, oh, I'm not coming back, right? So, and since then, I have to also say that I've been very driven to become a professor. I always knew that I wanted to become professor, but there were moments when some professor did not take me seriously, and they were also pointing out, specifically in Poland and also a bit in the Netherlands, because I have to be honest that also that was a bit also too slow for me. I was already having high energy and a lot of ambitions, and I got this feedback, and I was like, I'm too ambitious, and also like why I really want so much, right? And in Poland, one of the professors told me explicitly, why you're studying so much, you are going to become a secretary anyway. I've been provide feedback and I'm not enough focused, or I should not change the fields, right? So I started electrical engineering, electronics and telecommunication, and then quality of life is getting really into health informatics domain and digital health. And some of my mentors were really specifically pointing out, it's like, you should not do that because it's risky and it's not going to pay off, and this kind of aspects. So as a female, also I realized that harder to get a really respect from the students in the class, as I would come to the class and then we mostly male, and I would, okay, I'm standing here, I'm going to teach you, and then sometimes it was like, what? So to earn this respect, and it came with time, and it came with also proper mentoring. Whenever I can, I'm just like really nice, and still really enjoying the process. I think that's also what I learned, and being myself and getting the results just because everybody is enjoying the process.
I find it very interesting that you pointed out mentorship here. This is just something I wanted to highlight, that where sometimes maybe helping, sometimes maybe also trying to hinder you from going where you are right now. I just want to take that a little bit out of the normal question part here, but do you think that mentorship in academia is something that could be beneficial, especially for young professors trying to reach higher levels?
Been myself a mentee as a PhD student at the University of Geneva. I subscribed to different programs, and one of them was a year-long program when I had a professor from Bern, so Swiss university, and he was coaching me and providing me feedback, and I had a lot of questions all the time. So I found it very beneficial to have a mentor, because academia is also a bit self-made work. There's somehow a career path, but it's never really clear and fair, and really interesting as well to see the aspect of shaping, because I usually had a male mentors, and then in computer science, and then shaping my way of thinking through their eyes, and also later on I always thank them, and recently I've become a professor. I definitely thank them for whatever happened in the past. However, yes, necessary, absolutely necessary steps, and
great. That's a
have more. Yeah,
that's a great insight. Maybe this also leads over to the last question I would have for you today. Having heard about your exciting journey and how you managed to navigate your career in academics to look deeper into quality of life using the power of big data, what would be the recommendation, the BrainFruits, that you would like to pass on to our community of listeners to make maybe more use of tech for better quality of life?
Thank you very much. That's such a fascinating question, because actually all of us have a smartphone in almost embedded in our hand, and some of us have wearable. And I think the keyword here, which I would propose to our community, is curiosity. So every smartphone right now, it's capturing some basic data sets about our steps, sleep patterns. It makes sometimes it's not super accurate because it's trying to make sense out of what I said, like how to use your phone, which then the phone recalculates based on this how many steps, how you carry your phone, how many steps you take, and how stressed you are, or how much you slept, right? However, if you really look deeper, there's you can also imagine yourself and thinking like, what have I done last day and last week, and how was that, and try to correlate with the data which is coming there anyway. So it's passively collected anyway by these different data sources. And I think with a little of curiosity, each of us could find out some different patterns which are surprising to us, and unlocks another level of self-understanding, which not necessarily bad. I mean, sometimes we find out that we're really actually good, right? And but
already have some good behavior.
Yes. So it's not necessarily always about the bad, risky behaviors, but it's also some promising behaviors which are unlocked, and we can be proud of ourselves. So I would just like to, offer the keyword, which is curiosity, of leveraging daily life technologies which are already there for for free, and they're there anyway for our own good. And you can contact us if you would like to have this discussion about your data sets without getting into any studies. Just
that
have a
would be
discussion
great.
about
Exactly.
how
The next question,
Thank you.
if someone could, where someone could sign up to participate in your studies.
That's a great question. We have a QL website with a lot of different ongoing studies, not a lot. And maybe at this moment there are 3 different studies we can sign up for, but you can also contact us for any additional information or helping you to understand your own data sets, which you may have. And then yes, please contact us again on qluneg.ch. Just find Quality of Life Technologies Geneva, and you will find the lab, and we are welcoming you.
Great.
Thank you.
I think that's a great end of the scene to get more quality of life for yourself. Make sure to sign up, please, and check out the website also from Quality of Life Labs. It's super interesting to see some of the studies and to skim through some of the research papers. It's great read and really great insights to improve one's quality of life. Thank you so much today for being part of the BrainFruits podcast.
Thank you.